Thierry Breton, he is a former boss of France Telecom, served as French finance minister under Sarkozy's predecessor, Jacques Chirac. These days, he's a chief executive officer of Atos, joins me now. Lovely to have you. And I just want you to cast your mind back to when you were in the post of finance minister, because you actually managed to reduce French public debt by 2.7% versus GDP, which is a very significant decrease. And you also managed to restore a surplus to the budget. So I'm just wondering, how difficult a task does Mr. Hollande have in front of him now?
Pretty difficult because he committed to go back this year at minus 4.4% deficit. Next year, like Mr. Sarkozy, at minus 3%. By the way, they had the same ambition, both of them. And he said that...
You see very little difference.
Yeah, that's why you don't see any movement on the market today because of the election of Francois Hollande. Because again, this was already in the market. The election of Hollande was in the market, but also they had exactly the same ambition, Hollande and Sarkozy. Be at a balanced budget by 2016 for Sarkozy and 2017 for Hollande, it was the same thing. Now the question is how you will do it. And the rendezvous will be definitely when we will have the general election and a new chamber, which will mean after July.
Do you think that difficult spending cuts can be avoided in reaching these targets?
No, we will have to do this. And in fact, we will have to do this in two phases, in my opinion. The first phase will be probably to go back, to adjust ourselves to the minus 4.4% this year. We will probably to have what we call a collective, which will mean that probably another saving of between 8 to 10 billion as early as this summer. And probably then, for the next year, the budget, which will be discussed in fall, will mean that we will have probably another additional 20 to 30 billion euros of saving. And that's of course painful, but this will have to be done.
Prepared for that?
The country will have to be prepared. And there is no option that we will escape. And guess what? We will do it.
And I mean, you mentioned that the saving cuts that need to be made. Talk to me about structural reforms, the importance of flexibility in the labour market, because there are many, certainly perhaps putting your corporate hat on at the moment, there are companies that talk about there being a lack of legal clarity when it comes to hiring people, a lack of flexibility. How important is it for this country to implement the sort of reforms that we're seeing even in Spain and Italy? Probably
more in Italy than in Spain, by the way, because I think Mr. Monti is really doing it now. It's probably too early for France. I think that this will be done probably in 2013 or 2014. Now we will have more structural reforms and more easy low-hanging fruits to grab, because this is what we need now, which is probably for the pension, which will mean for the social security, which will mean for all these reforms, when we will be able to get immediate effect, will be probably done this fall. And again, when you look at what happened, if we don't do this, the spread will explode, and we cannot afford this. This morning, what was extremely interesting, when you look at the spread of France, the debt of France for the 10 years,
yes. There was little
no move at all, no move at all. Of course, the big move that we see is in Greece, for a totally different reason. By the way, I keep thinking that Greece will continue to stay in the Eurozone. We will have probably more general election in Greece, probably within the next few weeks.
Do you think we might see a bailout for Spain?
Well, of course, we will do it. I have no doubt that this will happen. Again, what will happen? The markets hate instability. And what we see in Greece, of course, today, that we have instability, that either the Greeks will be able to form a new government, and then probably things will go, either they will not be able to do it, which is maybe what will happen, and then they will have election in one month. And in between, yes, it will be a shaky environment.
You say that the markets hate instability. Is there a sense, perhaps to some extent, that the markets are also perhaps struggling to come to terms with the termination of the close relationship between Chancellor Angela Merkel and Mr. Nicolas Sarkozy?
Absolutely not. It will. I mean, what will happen is that I can tell you, I'm very close to Germany. The relation between France and Germany will have no other options but to work extremely closely. And by the way, when Hollande said that he will add, or he will move to add some new features when it will not be for the European Treaty. I think the European Treaty will continue to be like it was decided, but probably they will add an addendum saying that growth will be important. A little bit like what happened 4 years ago, and I don't think it will be a problem.
Will the Germans have to be perhaps more tolerant of higher inflation, or perhaps be a little bit more flexible on that point in order for the relationship between France and Germany to remain as strong as you say?
Well, it will be a discussion. But again, what will be important is that definitely now we will have an addendum to the treaty regarding growth. That's something which is requested now by the EU, by the southern country, and Germany will accept it.
What about Mr. Hollande's proposal issuing euro bonds, so bonds that are backed by all 17 euro nations? The funds would then be used for growth-generating infrastructure projects. Will Berlin stand in the way of that?
Well, I don't see this will happening so far. I think it will be much more complex to do, and I think it's not the priority. The priority will be for the EU country to have a budget and to have the reforms to be put in place. And by the way, if we need more time to do it, Hollande committed by 2017, I think it's not a problem. If at the end we do this by 2018 or 2019, I don't think it will be a problem as long as we committed and we put these reforms in the Constitution. This is what the market will expect.
All right. Well, thank you very much indeed, Thierry Breton, Atos CEO. Lovely to get your perspective on the situation.